I wrote in big capital letters in my notes, turd. Hi, my name is Lacey and welcome to my recaps of episodes 11 and 12. So the actual finale, the bonfire part 2, and the reunion. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers by the end of the year, and I appreciate your support. I also have a Patreon if you feel generous. We left off in the middle of Vanessa and Rob's bonfire, and she flipped out after he said that he slept in the same bed as Desiree. She's yelling and crying and says, "Why?" and like is on her knees. It's so dramatic. It's like 11. He says he's sorry. He said he didn't have sex with her. Then Vanessa reels herself back in. Very impressive, I must say. She reels herself back in and she says, I'm going to use this opportunity as a chance to grow. And she calms down and sits back down. And I'm like, whoa, Vanessa, yay, good for you. While she's crying, she's listening to Rob say how he felt disrespected by her in the relationship, and so therefore he kind of acted out and disrespected her in a physical form with Desiree. Vanessa asks if Desiree means anything to Rob, and he says after he struggles a bit, he goes, no, what do you mean? And she's like, just answer the question. And Mark's like, just answer the question. And he's like, no, I have no feelings for Desiree. I'm not happy about this. I really wanted him to be with Desiree. This is some bullshit. He says he loves Vanessa. I'm displeased. And she says there is no more timeline or schedule. She's going to let him off the hook, whatever that means. So they decide. Rob decides first. He decides to stay with Vanessa. Vanessa decides to stay with Rob. It is time for Paris and Great. And Paris looks fabulous with like short blonde hair. I guess she got rid of her wig and it looks fabulous. She looks stunning. Great gets to talk first. And he says that he has trust issues and that he's scared to get vulnerable. But in the house, he was able to cry and get vulnerable. And he has grown and he is happy into who he has grown into. He says nothing about Paris. Nothing. No sorry. No, I did anything wrong. Okay. Let's just skip over that part. Paris' turn, and she says that she used this time to learn how to forgive her dad. She was forcing Great to stay, and she's sorry for that. And it's because the family kind of was instilled on her and forced on her, so she forced him, and she apologizes for that. Then she asks, did you fuck? And Great says yes. And she says, well, that's not loyal. And he says, oh, you'll meet her. And then they get into a big fight, obviously, because, like, I mean, I would have just been like, oh, well, fuck off then, I'm leaving. But they get into a fight, and she says she didn't need to have sex to find a connection. She just did it emotionally, and she kissed and stuff, and she didn't actually suck his dick, which she said she was going to earlier in the thing. She was just a joke, but she didn't. Mark stops the fight, and he says, okay, let's stop this, and how about we try to remember who you are and why you guys like each other in the first place. So he has each of them look at each other and say something that they love about each other or appreciate about the other person, and that was really nice, and it was actually very sweet. Paris says that he's handsome and that she likes cuddling with him. He says that she's cute when she gets angry and a couple other things. It was a nice back and forth for a minute. Then it starts over again. And then Mark says, is there any chance of you guys getting back together, reconciliation? And there is not, apparently. I feel like each of one of them is trying to get the last word, like, you'll miss me. No, you'll miss me. And it was just keeps going back and forth. It's like, just stop. Toxic and angry. Paris decides to leave the island with Tajik. He loves her new hair, and I like his reaction, because as soon as he saw her, he was like, oh my God, I love it. It was cute. Great decides to leave the island with Nafisa, and she is very happy, but I don't like the way he says it. He's like, are you as happy, or are you, the way he said it, I don't remember how he put it, but it was very like, Like, aren't you happy to be with me? And it's like, you should be happy to be with me as well. You know, let's happy to be together. It just seemed very one-sided is all. Caitlin and Hall. Well, we know how this story ends. Hall talks first, and he says that it was a special 8 years that they had together, and he has love for her, but he never wanted her. This is like, Hall pisses me off. Like, I get it, he's being honest and everything, but it's like, dude, how do you fake something like that for 8 years and not feel like a psychopath? He said he wasn't looking for love on the island, but he found it, and now he's hurt her twice. Caitlin is thankful to be ending this chapter of her life and that she didn't make a mistake by marrying him, and she thinks that he's selfish. And then he gets butthurt for saying that he's selfish. And he says, well, why am I selfish? Because you wasted her time with lies for 8 years. And for a woman who may want kids, that is a big fucking deal. Especially if he never loved her or cared for her or emotionally invested in her. Wow. And Hall keeps saying, I did this. What have you ever done for me? And it's like, whoa. Wow. He's being very, 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 very selfish. I don't know what their relationship was like whether he gave everything to her, but like, he sure seems selfish now and throwing a little baby tantrum. I wrote in big capital letters in my notes, turd. Caitlin decides to leave alone, and she's very happy because he hasn't learned a goddamn thing. And she says, good riddance. And she is taking the dog. Good for you, Caitlin. Get the fuck out of there because Hall don't deserve you. Hall decides to leave with Michaela, no surprise. He says, will you take the honor of being my girlfriend? Again, I think he just said it wrong, but the way it came out was like, she should be blessed and honored to be with him. It wasn't do me the honor of being my girlfriend. Words matter. She says yes, so they leave happy, and fuck them both. It is time for the reunion. I'm not sure how long this has been, maybe a year-ish. It's been some months. Months have been mentioned. So it is time for the reunion, and they are seated with their original couples with all of the singles on the other side of the stage. And then Mark brings them up by original couple and then brings up the singles that matter to that specific couple. We start with Great and Paris. Paris feels that Great did not care about her after the show. He left with Nafisa. After a couple months, they ended things, and he tried to get back with Paris. Then Great says that he wasn't moving mad in the villa, but all the girls on the other side of the stage, so we got Tammy, we got Abby, we got Tia, and Nafisa. And they're all, yeah, right, you were moving mad. You were hanging on with everybody. Everybody. No, Great, you can't get away with this. It's on TV. You were making eyes at everybody. Great calls out Paris for the dick sucking comment, and she says, no, I did not actually do that. We did not actually have sex. We were just kissing in bed, and that was it. Tajik backs her up on that point. Speaking of Tajik, we hear that he ghosted Paris after the show, and he has no real good answer, and everybody's like, just say you weren't interested in her after the show. Like, you lost interest. That was that. And he's like, and he just keeps going back and forth, and then Paris breaks down, and she gets very upset, and it's like, then he finally is like, yeah, I guess I'm sorry. I just wasn't into it afterward. That disappoints me. I was rooting for Tajik and Paris a little bit. Not to be ghosted, maybe to give it a shot and then maybe fail. But just ghosted right away? Clout chaser. Now we get to Great and Nafisa, and apparently they stuck around together a little bit longer. She got to meet his family, but then they kind of just drifted apart slowly. Nafisa says that she's not Great's fixer and that she was tired of the fights and the Tammy and all of that stuff, and it was all really Great's fault, which is probably true. Ultimately, though, Mark says, well, how do you feel about them? And Great says that he has feelings for both Paris and Nafisa, and I hope both Paris and Nafisa kick Great to the curb. We move right along to Hall and Caitlin. Caitlin packed up her stuff and moved out, and apparently Hall lied about paying off the ring. Instead of paying off the ring, he decided to stop paying for the ring before they left for the show, especially since he said he fully planned on leaving there with her in the beginning. I don't like Hall. I think he's a schmuck and a turd. Then Michaela chimes in saying, like, he's a good man, don't be a martyr, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, shut up, Michaela. Shut the fuck up. Sebastian and Caitlin apparently tried to date outside of the show, but it was long distance and they kind of just didn't really give it a shot very much, but they kept in touch and they are still very much into each other. So maybe they will hit it off again. Hall and Michaela are still doing fine, and he asks her to move in, and I don't care about them because Hall sucks. Oh, this is another one that pisses me off. Chris and Maricela, they do not talk anymore. Maricela is good with his family, and he's upset that she talked to his dad after they broke up because he has a bad relationship with his dad. They apparently hooked up after the show again. And then Alexis decides to chime in and catches Chris in a lie about some bullshit specifics that nobody gives a shit about. Like, it's like the timing of things. It's like, I don't care. And it just gets into a shouting match. Maricela and Christian, she says she's focused on herself, which I pretty much thought she would be, but they are still in touch. And I'm guessing that because they're both in LA, they're probably friends with benefits. And I'm not mad about it. I like them together, so I hope they do stay in touch, and I hope they stay in touch. Chris and Alexis. Now, this one is fucked up. They were together for a bit. They met each other's families. Then Alexis got pregnant because Chris can't keep it in his fucking pants or in a condom, which we saw in the show, like a little jackrabbit. But then while Alexis was pregnant, I think it was like 2 months or something like that, he decided to hit up Maricela and try and get back together with her, or at least get some nudes from her. After that, after Alexis found out about that, she is no longer pregnant. And she gets very emotional because it is relatively recent. And it is very, very heartbreaking for her. And Chris is... Mike, from the other side of the singledom, calls Christopher a narcissist because he's a psychology major. Mike is. I mean, he is. Christopher is a narcissist, so Mike's not wrong. Then, Chris has the fucking nerve to say, oh, I didn't know if you were actually pregnant. She's like, oh, I was. And he says, and are you sure I was the father? Apparently, Chris has gotten at least 3 women pregnant. Maricela and Alexis now. And Maricela said, yeah, he did the same thing to me, and I no longer have that baby. And yeah, so Chris is a dick going around putting his dick into everything without covering his dick. Chris is fucking trash. And Mark calls him out. And I appreciate that of Mark. I think he could have gone further, but I know he's a host and he can't really be biased, but Chris deserves it. Mark also thanks Alexis for sharing her very emotional and vulnerable story with everybody. Last but not least, we get Vanessa and Rob. Rob said they were good for about 72 hours after the show. And then he felt bad about not picking Desiree, and so he called her to apologize and explain himself. And then Vanessa found out that he called Desiree. And Vanessa got pissed because Rob was supposed to cut off all contact with Desiree. And Vanessa didn't understand why Rob felt like he owed Desiree an apology. She didn't understand how deep their connection actually was. There is no more Bryce in the picture, and he did not show up to the reunion. I'm not surprised. He didn't want to fucking be there. He doesn't give a shit about Vanessa. He never did. And that's totally fine. In the clip show for Rob and Desiree, it shows them actually having sex on the final overnight date. And we didn't see this before, So apparently things got a little deeper than we expected. Everybody on the stage was like, oh God, because Vanessa's about to pop off and everybody knows it because she just found out that Rob had sex with Desiree, and she's like, you lied to me? And he's like, then she asks if he wore a condom, and Desiree says no. Rob says he lied and he apologizes. He apologizes to both of them. Vanessa now understands why Desiree and Rob had a deeper connection, so much so that Desiree thought that Rob was going to leave with her. He didn't. Therefore, he owed her an apology for sleeping with her and then not leaving with her. Vanessa is actually really chill. She's hurt. She's emotional, but she's chill. She's not throwing chairs or punching anybody in the face, which I really thought she was going to do. She said that she gave him outs over the course of their relationship, but he never took them. He was always the one who convinced her to stay in it instead of, no, I don't need to leave. I'm in it. Vanessa cries and apologizes to him for the controlling, just the issues with their relationship. He also apologizes to both her and Vanessa again, and they just acknowledge that they're not good together. You're not good together. Desiree apparently, when Rob called her initially, she appreciated the apology, but said to focus on Vanessa. He chose her, so just go fucking choose her and leave Desiree alone. And she said that the apology did soften the blow and that they're okay now. They're okay now. And they gave each other a hug at the end of it. So it ends on a surprisingly resolved note. So really, is there any success? There's no successful couples. All of the OG couples are kaput because only Rob and Vanessa stayed together at the end of it anyway. And then, so all the original couples are kaput, and we have a couple maybes. We have a Friends with Benefits with Marcela and Christian. We have a maybe with Sebastian and Caitlin. And we have Go Fuck Yourself with Hall and Michaela. What did you guys think of this season of Temptation Island and the reunion? Do you think Hall and Michaela are going to stay together? Do you think any of these people are going to get back together? Tell me your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.